Hi everyone, welcome to the TriEssence martial art channel. Hope you're still safe and healthy and staying away from crowded places. Right, so this is still a continuation of our second episode of Fact or Fiction, the origin of Tai Chi. Now this will be part number 5. Now after the first 4 parts, I've got some feedback and comment and some arguments and questions. I'm going to try to address them before we continue with today's topic. Some of them are quite nice, not that I agree with them, but they do provide interesting discussion and areas that I did not cover in the previous videos, and others are not so nice in this, I was always being told back in high school that, by my teachers that there are no stupid questions, but unfortunately, I don't agree with that anymore because there's things that I've already covered in the video and someone still, point that out as an argument. That just means they haven't really paid attention in the video, and you don't have to watch the video if it's boring for you, if it's too long, it doesn't matter, but you can't try to poke hole in a video that you haven't even fully understood. And those are pretty much the dumb questions in my definition. Anyway, so today we're going to first start with a question that I think is, almost like a question argument kind of thing that I think is actually very good, from a guy on YouTube called The Violent Fox. I'm going to just read it out. So putting the borderline between Chen and Yang style, as that it is paginator. Sorry, my English actually, I don't actually know what that word means. So basically he's saying that, basically putting the line between Chen and Yang and saying that Yang is the word Tai Chi style, Chen is not Tai Chi, it makes things quite tricky semantically. Okay, so first of all, he's saying that Yang Luchan's system was more than likely evolving through his life. This is completely true. Everyone's martial art evolves. No one's martial art stays the same. At least it shouldn't stay the same. Now, at what point did it become Tai Chi Chuan? Had it happened before he moved to Beijing or after? If after, does it mean that Wu Yuxiang learned the not yet Tai Chi from him, because Wu Yuxiang learned from him in Yongyang County, right, before Yang went to Beijing, and the not yet Tai Chi from Chen Qingping, and therefore the Wu style / Hao style, and therefore consequentially the Sun style that came after cannot be called Tai Chi. Okay, so addressing this question, to understand this better, we need to reference again another precedent or another example that we have in another martial art, like I've mentioned the previous time, which is Xingyi, right? We all know Li Luoneng studied Dai family Xingyi in Shanxi. When he went back to his hometown, which is Hebei province, Shenzhen County, he formalized it and named it Xingyi. Okay. Now, obviously, we all know that he named the style Xingyi, and he learned from Xingyi Dai family, but Dai family can't call their style Xingyi. Not that they want to, you see, because Dai family is recognized and well known for Xingyi. They have no reason to rename their style into Xingyi. They don't need to rub off their fame from Li Luoneng, which is why this does not happen over there. Now, the thing about Chen style, like we've mentioned in the previous video, when Chen Fake came to Beijing to teach, he actually did not call the style Chen family Tai Chi. That name came much later on, alright? And there was in fact an incident where Wu Tunan and a bunch of other Tai Chi heads in Beijing, they had a conference about Tai Chi discussion. Chen Fake was invited as an observer, but he was not permitted to participate in the discussion because they feel like he did not represent Tai Chi. Obviously, you might ask that what happened later, because now everybody call it Chen style Tai Chi. So basically, the thing is, a lot of big heads at the time, not big heads, but like well-known Tai Chi practitioners such as Li Jingwu, right, who studied from the Wu family initially. It was one of the 4 tigers of the Wu family, so he was quite established, have reputation and respected in the Tai Chi community. So people like him, among others, they were all converted to study under Chen Fake. And so even if they don't think it's Tai Chi initially, it puts them in an awkward position, like they used to be a Tai Chi master, but now they are not, or how does that work? So that's why eventually everyone just sort of, who follow Chen Fake kind of just agreed to just call it Chen style Tai Chi. because otherwise it's awkward for all of them, because they were all kind of already established Tai Chi masters. And now they're learning this from Chen style, but they still want to continue to be Tai Chi masters, not the master of another style. And that's sort of why eventually people just accepted the fact that, Chen Fake's style is going to be called Chen Family Tai Chi. Well, so that's pretty much how most likely the name of Chen style Tai Chi was eventually accepted. But do know that initially people like Wu Tunan, people who didn't get converted to study under Chen Fake, they really rejected this idea. And there's also, story of Sun Lutang's second son, Sun Sunzhou, saying that what Chen Fake does is not Tai Chi. So there are many accounts of people commenting on that initially, and that wouldn't have been an argument if Chen Fake actually had the style named Tai Chi when he came to Beijing. He didn't, right? That's why there is a huge argument, a huge debate over whether it is Tai Chi or not. And that pretty much shows that the style was not named Tai Chi. The name Tai Chi most likely came from Yang Luchan. So back to the Xingyi thing. Yeah, sorry, it's a bit sidetracked. So back to the Xingyi story, right? Li Luoneng has his eldest disciple, his first disciple is called Che Yizhai. Che Yizhai studied with Li Luoneng in Taigu, which is Shanxi province, right? So while Li Luoneng studied under Dai family, and then he started working around that same province as a bodyguard, or like someone who guards a rich man's yard. During that time, he took his first disciple, Che Yizhai, and he taught him. At that time, Li Luoneng did not establish his style as Xingyi. He haven't made the name yet, and he hasn't separated himself from the Dai family yet. Okay, and that only happened after he left Shanxi and went back to Hebei province. Che Yizhai, being a native of Shanxi, he did not go with Li Luoneng. He stayed in Shanxi. All right, so that's pretty much almost like the same scenario where Yang Luchan taught Wu Yuxiang, and then he left Yongnian County and went to Beijing. However, within the Xingyi system, Che Yizhai, the Che style is considered Xingyi and not Xingyi, right? And based on this precedence, we can also then say that Wu Yuxiang learned under Yang Luchan, therefore it is still Tai Chi, even though he learned it before Yang Luchan named the style Tai Chi. Now over here, there are two important criteria that we need to understand. Firstly is, who does he consider as his principal teacher, right? If you were to ask Che Yizhai, he will tell that his master is Li Luoneng. He actually, in fact, did learn from the Dai family after Li Luoneng left, but he himself considered Li Luoneng as his principal master. And in this case, Wu Yuxiang still considered Yang Luchan as his principal teacher. Okay, I mean, how do we know that? Obviously, you can't ask him personally because he's long dead, but you can see from the things that he did. For example, he never taught anybody outside of his own family in order to not compete with Yang Luchan's business. All right. If he no longer considered Yang Luchan as his principal teacher, he didn't have to do that. Furthermore, he acquired the Tai Chi Classic, and he immediately shared it with Yang Luchan. Okay, he didn't keep it for himself, and he didn't claim that he studied his style from Chen Qingping, and this is evidence in Li Yiyu's text, his Lao Sanben, the O3 volume. He still positioned Yang Luchan as the teacher, not Chen Qingping. Okay, which is why we can strongly believe that Wu Yuxiang considered Yang Luchan as his principal teacher, and therefore his style should fall under Tai Chi and not under Chen Qingping. What he did at Chen Qingping's place is hard to know, but most likely he basically improved some of the maybe abilities, concept, understanding, or some other aspect of his training that he was missing from Yang Luchan. But his main system he received from Yang and not from Chen Qingping. Okay, the second thing that we need to consider is to look at the exchange of knowledge, right? So when Li Luoneng went back to Hebei Sheng, right, Hebei province, Shenzhen County, and established Xingyi, the style itself is actually not completely established. The curriculum is not fixed. At the time, there was only like 6 animals. There wasn't 12 animals. 12 animals came much later on. And even though he himself never left Shenzhen thereafter, his disciples such as Guo Yunshen and his grand disciples such as Sun Lutang, his grand disciple, which is actually 单刀李存义, alright, and Liu Qilan, and then they disciple, which is Sun Lutang and Shang Yunxiang, etc. They all visited Shanxi province and exchanged knowledge with the Che family as well as the Song family. Those are two families of Xingyi in Shanxi. And they basically shared with them what Li Luoneng alterated in the later part of his life, and they also brought back stuff from the Che family and the Song family. So they constantly have an exchange of knowledge, which is why, despite the fact that Li Luoneng maybe did alter his style later in his life after he left Shanxi, and he only established his Xingyi as a style in Hebei province, all the alteration and changes were communicated back and forth, so everyone was still on the same page. Of course, each lineage, Che, Song, and Hebei, they do not look the same, which is perfectly fine, but they are up to date with each other's development during that time. And now if we observe the same situation here, Yang Luchan did frequently go back to Yongnian County. Okay, we know that for certain because there was a time where he left for his home county and left his second son in charge, Yang Banhou. And Yang Banhou was such a straightforward and violent person. He really made it hard for Yang Luchan's disciples, and they actually demanded Yang Luchan come back. And they don't want to learn from Yang Banhou anymore. So we can from this know that Yang Luchan do travel back to Yongnian County. And Wu Yuxiang also does come to Beijing. Okay, I mean they have own family members in Beijing that he would to visit, and obviously they would communicate with each other, and Wu Yuxiang would learn of Yang Luchan's alteration and further development in his own martial art. And furthermore, Yang Banhou eventually doesn't like Beijing anymore, most likely due to him being such a straightforward and short-tempered person, and he pissed off a lot of his father's students. That eventually he went back to Yongnian County and lived there until he passed away. And during that time, he obviously also most likely exchanged the knowledge with Wu Yuxiang again. So there is a constant back and forth of knowledge exchanging. It's not that Yang Luchan taught Wu Yuxiang, left Yongnian County, and never saw Wu Yuxiang again. So therefore, the communication between them would nullify the problem of Yang Luchan altering his style through the later part of his life, and that wasn't passed on to Wu Yuxiang, making Wu Yuxiang being a style that predate Yang Luchan's final version of Yang family Tai Chi. I don't believe that is the case. And of course, if you really observe the form, right, Yang Luchan's form and the Wu style, Hao style form, and you observe, Zhao Bao form and Chen style form, obviously each are different, but you can clearly see that Wu Yuxiang, or Hao form as we call it now, have more similarity to the Yang style form than it does have with Zhao Bao form or Chen style form. Okay, the comparison, the similarity is quite obvious. Now, for example, we can look at Lou Qi Ao Bu, right, brushing knee. In Chen style, the move it's called 斜行 Ao Bu, right? It's a diagonal line, and the hand will come here and it will come out this way, right? It's hard to see in this close camera, but yeah, so this hand goes under up, this hand goes in and out that way. Whereas the Yang style Lou Qi Ao Bu, the hand is two circles here, and the hand from here pushes forward, and the Hao style or Wu style Lou Qi Ao Bu is like this and not like Chen style, or like the punch, right? Ban Lan Cui. Yang style and Wu / Hao style, they Ban Lan Cui is a front and back stance, and the punch is aiming forward. Whereas the Chen style as well as Zhao Bao style is a horizontal horse stance, and the punch is going this way. So it's completely different frame. I mean, there are other examples as well, but we're not going to go too much into it. The point is, you see more similarity between Wu and Yang, which also proves that Wu's frame is more in line with Yang than with those. And therefore, if we make the cut line here and say Yang is the one where is where Tai Chi was actually founded, then Wu Yuxiang will fit under this group, and therefore Sun Lutang also fit under this group. It's only Chen style and Zhao Bao that actually doesn't get included. And again, I got to stress that this is not to say those styles are not good, right? We're just trying to work out exactly when Tai Chi was actually founded. Rather than going with myth and legend, we're trying to see the fact. Okay, so the next part of this person's question or argument is that sock reeling as a term may not exist in old style, but many Yang and Wu stylers admit that they do the same thing without having a separate term for it. Also, circle reading does not really work without 彭进, making it a prerequisite. Given that 彭 becomes a subset of 传思, does that make Taichi a mere subset of 全拳? Alright, so this is a very it's a more technical thing to discuss, and it's hard to discuss without motion. Okay, but yes, it is true, and I believe I did cover this in my previous video. I did say that in Yang style you do have spiral force. I don't like to call it 禅思, because 禅思 is a term specific for Chen style. Okay, but in Yang style we do have spiral force. However, the spiral force is not expressed the same way as Chen style. If you look at the Chen style form, everything they do evolve around 禅思, that is their principal force. Okay, when he mentioned that 禅思 does not work without 彭, that is true, but they 彭 again is like different meaning to the 彭 of Yang style, right? So if you look at, without going into too much detail, the Chen style starting form, right? You raise your hand this way, you rotate it. See, this is already 禅思, right? So this is 禅思, this is 禅思, this going under is 禅思. So they're always rotating, including their stance, their body, their arm is always spiraling. But if you look at the Yang style, starting move, the hand comes up, there's no 禅思, right? There's no visible spiraling. It's just 彭. And from here, you do a 彭 this way, you turn, you do a 彭 that way, 捋, 挤, right? So there's no, you don't see the same visible spiral. So again, I'm not saying that Yang style, Wu style, etc. don't have a spiral force, but it's no longer the primary force like you see in Chen style. In Chen style, pretty much you can say that when they're doing the form, the first thing they're trying to find is the spiral 禅思 force. But in Yang style, the first force they're trying to find is a 彭 force. And once they find that, they put everything around 彭. Although in Chen style, you can argue that they also have 彭, but it's a different version of 彭, right? It's not the same thing. Now, if you look at the Xing Yi example again, the most principal force for Xing Yi is 起钻落翻, the rising force and the falling force. And on the body, it is the 一缩束展, which is compression and expansion. Now, both of these can be seen in Dai family Xing Yi. In fact, Xing Yi, you see 束展 much more visible than in Xing Yi. Xing Yi, some of them, you don't even see the body compressed or expanding. And in the Dai family manuscript, they also talk about the rising force and the falling force, right? You can see it from, they call it 恨天无霸, 恨地无还, is where the move, where they also go up like this, and then they come all the way down like that. So they still have the same force, but it's expressed differently. Whereas in Xing Yi, Pi Quan is not going all the way up here, it's just there, and this Pi is not even down all the way, it's more like forward and slightly downwards force. So the same the same idea of a concept of force, with its rising force, falling force, compression, expansion, are trained and expressed differently. And that's what separates Xing Yi from Xing Yi, right? That's why they are two different styles. Now, in the same way, they all have spiral force. In fact, all the internal families have spiral force, not just Xing Yi. I mean, it's not just Taichi. Xing Yi has it, Bagua has it, Yiquan has it, Wuxing Tongbei has it, they all have it. Okay, but the point is, the way Chen family trains it is different to how Yang family trains it. And that's why there is a separation, a major difference to separate the two into two different styles. Now, of course, Wu Yuxiang, the Wu family, and then later on the Sun family, they also have difference compared to Yang family. But if you take all 6 of them and you look at them as a whole, these 4 have more similarity to each other than those 2. And that is quite an obvious the difference. And this is why I believe it is correct to classify Tai Chi from here downwards and classify those 2 as predecessors of Tai Chi. So that's about covers this part of the question or comment. And I do think it's a very interesting thing that he points out, and it's quite valid, and it does warrant me to address it and clear some misunderstanding that possibly happens for other viewers as well. Right now, next we're going to move on to a different question. Alright, so the next one, basically someone saying that, Zhang Sanfeng was mentioned in the official Ming Dynasty record, and therefore he does exist. Well, that person probably didn't really understand my video. Maybe I didn't explain it properly. I said there are 3 separate accounts of Zhang Sanfeng that people can find. One from Song Dynasty, one from Yuan Dynasty, and one from Ming Dynasty. And that spans through 300 or 400 years, right? One person cannot live that long. I mean, back in the days, they tend to believe Zhang Sanfeng lived really long. But we all know now, with modern scientific understanding, that human can't live that long. Which is why those three accounts are not the same person. The Ming Zhang Sanfeng may do exist, but he is not the same Zhang Sanfeng as the one that is associated with the Wudang mountain, with martial arts, and with Tai Chi. Okay? So the first time that Zhang Sanfeng's name is associated with Wudang and martial arts is by a tombstone description called Wang Zhengnan Mu Zhiming, written by a scholar during the Ming Dynasty called Huang Zongyi. Alright? And he basically, according to that tombstone, he described it as that is a Zhang Sanfeng from the Northern Song Dynasty. That's quite a long time ago compared to the Ming Dynasty. And that Zhang Sanfeng's name is written as mountain, right? It's like this. But the Zhang Sanfeng in the Ming Dynasty, his Feng is written as this. So this means mountain, and that means a good harvest. So these two are most likely not the same person. First of all, they have like about 300 years apart from each other, which a single person cannot live for that long. And secondly, the name is not the same, right? There have been people who argue that maybe it's a misspelling, but just keep in mind that Huang Zongyi is a scholar, so it's very unlikely that he would misspell someone's name. There's another argument that people say maybe he want to hide his identity. Well, if you want to hide his identity, just don't write his name at all. Okay, it doesn't take a genius to connect this phone to that phone because they have the same sound. That's not a very good attempt at hiding any secret. So most likely, this Zhang Sanfeng has nothing to do with that Zhang Sanfeng. Okay, the Ming Dynasty Zhang Sanfeng is a Taoist in the record, but when I say there is no Zhang Sanfeng in the history, I'm talking about as a Wudang founder who founded Tai Chi or martial art. But now you might think, but it did mention this guy connected to Wudang was in that tombstone. Yes, but that is the only record, if you can even call it a record, of this person being a master of internal martial arts and of Wudang. There's nothing else that can support this claim. And obviously, him being someone in the mid to late Ming Dynasty, it doesn't help his case either. How did he know this person existed in the Northern Song Dynasty? That's a few hundred years apart. And he doesn't have any evidence to support that. And there have been people who research through the Wudang region's local county record and historical record, and none of them could find any further info on this Zhang Sanfeng. Okay, so when I say there's no Zhang Sanfeng in history, I'm talking about the one that found that according to this Mu Zhiming, founded Wudang an internal family martial art. And in that Mu Zhiming, it did not even mention anything on Tai Chi. It just says internal family martial art, 内家. And of course, there's even another argument, another can of worms, that the historian who believe he was not even talking about martial art, but he was hinting into a political undertone where he referred 外家 to the Manchurian invaders, Mongolian Manchurians, and the 内家as in the Chinese Han people. And he was actually subtly writing something to incite a rebellion, or incite people to fight against outsider, rather than actually talking about martial arts. I'm not a historian, so I'm not going to go into that. I don't really know which is which. But what I can say is Zhang Sanfeng mentioned in that tombstone cannot be verified by any other account. And does not even mention Tai Chi. So Tai Chi connecting to Zhang Sanfeng is very far-fetched, even if that tombstone was correct. So basically, someone wrote it in Ming Dynasty, then around mid to late Qing Dynasty, Yang Luchan, established Tai Chi, and then around this, when Song Shuming, which is already Republic era, then suddenly they are trying to say that Zhang Sanfeng invented Tai Chi. See the missing time gap in between where no information was recorded. That's what makes this claim very untrustworthy. But yes, so in short, Ming Dynasty Zhang Sanfeng is not the Wudang Zhang Sanfeng and therefore does not prove his case on founding Tai Chi. Okay, next I want to ask, what information support Yang Luchan called his master Tai Chi? Yeah, I don't know what to say. The Tai Chi Classic, the fact that everyone in Beijing knows Yang Luchan teach Tai Chi. What other evidence do you need to know that Yang Luchan called his master Tai Chi? Yeah, that's an example of a dumb question. Okay, maybe he doesn't think it's dumb, but it's kind of dumb. Okay, another guy says that modern soak reeling is based on Chen Xiaowang's exercise. Yeah, I don't know what he's trying to say. Modern soak reeling? I'm talking about the soak reeling from Chen family. If he's trying to say that soak reeling never existed until Chen Xiaowang invented it, that is 100% wrong. Okay. Now I can't say exactly when soak reeling the term became a thing in the Chen family, but it can be found as early as in Chen Xin's book, right? The first book written about the Chen family martial art. In it, Chen Xin called it 禅思经, right? Instead of 禅思境, 境 means power, 经 means essence. So maybe it's a different spelling, maybe it's a different dialect, pronunciation issue. But 禅思 soak reeling is definitely found in his book, and that's published between the 1929 or 1930, right? Around those years. I can't remember exactly. But the point is, it's already then, and you know what? Chen Xiaowang was not even born at that time yet, so it's impossible that Chen Xiaowang invented 禅思. And if that's not enough, when Chen Fake came to Beijing, it's very clear that he taught 禅思经 as one of the principal practice. We know this because there was a story. I can't say the story exactly happened, but I do tend to believe it because it comes from one of Chen Fake's own disciple called Lei Muni. Right? My Tai Chi master studied with Lei Muni first. He didn't think he was any good, and then he moved on to Wu Tunan. But according to Lei Muni once had a feast with Sun Lutang's second son, Sun Chunzhou, and he asked Sun Chunzhou what he think of Chen Fake's 禅思经, his 禅思soak reading force. And Sun Lutang's second son, Sun Chunzhou, says that I don't know and I don't care about any soak reading force, because he thinks that what Chen Fake does is actually not Tai Chi. And in response, he said, I only know Qi Zuan Luo Fan, which is the rising and falling force of Xing Yi. And that's enough for me, it's all I need. It's kind of arrogant on Sun Chunzhou's part, but that's not what I'm trying to get into. What I'm trying to get into is, from this story, you can see that 禅思力 is a thing at the time when Chen Fake taught. And if that story is not enough, then we can also find the same thing, evidence, in Hong Junsheng's book, right? When Hong Junsheng compiled his Chen style practical method, in that book he mentions 禅思 many times. And there are many different versions, many different types of 禅法, like positive, negative, invert, etc., etc. So 禅思 is definitely a thing in Chen style way before Chen Xiaowang made his public appearance. So anyone who thinks that Chen Xiaowang invented soak reeling doesn't know anything about Chen style. Okay, another question. So if Tai Chi Classic is real, though, wouldn't that mean that the name Tai Chi predates Yang Lu Chan? Okay, this is actually a valid question as well. So first of all, we don't know who wrote the Tai Chi Classic. One of the common beliefs is that maybe Wu Yuxiang wrote it himself and then dubbed it under the name of Wang Zongyue. And probably, Yang Lu Chan was in on it too. But this is a speculation or conspiracy. We can't really prove it. It's impossible to prove this. All we do know is, we couldn't find anything on Wang Zongyue in any record, so we don't know if Wang Zongyue ever existed. Another thing that we need to understand is that the Tai Chi Classic, like I said in the previous videos already, is a set of ideas, philosophy, ideology. It is not physical motion, right? It talks about a state that even the fly cannot land on you, even the feather cannot be added to you. On how you don't use physical brute force, but where a 70-year-old man can defeat a young person without using brute strength. It is an idea or an ideal state of combat and martial art. It does not tell you anything about the physical attribute of Tai Chi, such as the 8 forces, Peng, Lü, Ji, An, Cai, Lie, Zhou, Kao. It does not tell you any of its motions, trainings, techniques, nothing. It merely describes a state or an ideology. Okay, that's important to understand. For something to be a style, right, you have to have both the philosophical side as well as the physical side. And Yang Chan's physical side, right, the actual movement, it came from the Chen family. It did not come from this Tai Chi Classic. So, even if this classic did come from an ancient person called Wang Zongyue, and this is a big if, I don't agree with this, but let's just pretend that this is the case, a big if. that still doesn't mean Yang Luchan is doing the same martial art as Wang Zongyue, right? He merely took the idea described in the text and realized it was his own martial art. I mean, I can take the same text and same requirement and express it in another martial art. I can use spear and still do the same. But does that mean my spear is Tai Chi spear? No, it's not, because Yang Luchan is where Tai Chi started. You have to be connected to him to be a Tai Chi style. Alright, and another thing, before the Tai Chi text, the Chen family did not mention Tai Chi, nor did Zhao Bao, and obviously there's no text of any Wang Zongyue inventing Tai Chi before the Tai Chi classic surfaced. So nothing supports that there is a Tai Chi Chuan. Right? Not the importance is Tai Chi Chuan means Tai Chi first. That is a martial art. The term Tai Chi can be seen everywhere because it is a very commonly used philosophical term. In fact, the Tai Chi classic, Tai Chi Chuan Lun, this title might even be added at a later point. Maybe the original text does not have a title called Tai Chi Chuan Lun because in the body of the text it does not mention Tai Chi Chuan. Okay, it only starts by mentioning that Tai Chi starts from Wu Ji. Wu Ji is the mother of Tai Chi, and you have to split yin and yang. It's thought of a very philosophical way. If you're looking from a Tai Chi perspective, you can feel that he's exactly talking about Tai Chi, because you wanted to be that. But if I'm looking from another perspective, it could be talking about entirely something else, right? Wu Ji Tai Chi Zhi Mu, Sheng Yin Yang. This is the kind of thing that you find in all kinds of Chinese culture and philosophy. The entire Chinese culture is based on Wu Ji giving birth to Tai Chi splitting into Yin Yang, and Yin Yang giving birth to everything else. So just that front line does not really, prove that this text actually is talking about Tai Chi Chuan, right? That term might very well not be the headline or the title of that piece of text. We don't know that, right? It's hard to say. I'm not saying it is definitely not, but we don't know if the name was there before. And even if it was, a big if, so let's say Wang Zongyue did exist and he did invent Tai Chi Chuan, and he wrote this text, and this text got to Yang Luchan, then Wang Zongyue may be the first one to name a style Tai Chi Chuan, but it still doesn't make him the founder of the current Tai Chi Chuan that we know of today. Because Yang Luchan did not learn the motion from him, right? He merely used his own martial art to express an idea that he took from this text. I hope that makes sense. So, whether he's real or not, it still does not change the fact that the modern Tai Chi Chuan that we know has no connection to Wang Zongyue other than in concept. And that is a big if Wang Zongyue do exist. Okay, so I hope that makes sense for this question. Okay, lastly, somebody was saying that, Yang Shouzhong, which is Yang Luchan's, is Yang Chengfu's eldest son, I believe, Yang Shouzhong, who moved to Hong Kong, said that his daughter, which makes it, Yang Luchan's great-great-granddaughter, something like that, is still alive in Hong Kong, and actually ask her. Ask her for what? History is not recorded in bloodline. So whatever she knows is no different to what everybody else knows in this given day and age, right? Unless she has some hidden text that can be commentated to predate everything else, to predate Li Yiyu's, all 3 volume, then nothing she say really matters because it's still hearsay. She can say she hears something from her father, who hears something from her father, but how is that different from anything that anybody else says? I mean, the Yang family has members now in mainland China as well. And there are various Tai Chi lineage who have their master traced back to the Yang family too. I mean, my Tongbei lineage traced back to Yang family. So, and my Tai Chi lineage too, of course. And everyone has their say. It doesn't, just because she's part of the Yang family does not make her saying more correct, because everything is hearsay. And anything that contradicts what Li Yiyu wrote down is most likely untrustworthy, because Li Yiyu actually knows Wu Yuxiang in person. He knows Yang Luchan. He's been living in that era, and he's seen firsthand what those people have thought about the origin of Tai Chi. Okay, so in a sense, the all 3 volume is way more credible than anything anyone can say today, including Yang Luchan's great-granddaughter. So it's pretty stupid to say that I should ask her, because there's really no point. I mean, sorry if I come across as rude, but it's just stupid. Alright, so that's about it, covering all the comments that I like to respond. for my video. And in the future, if you like to make a comment, an argument, a question, you should post it on my video and not like on some forum. I don't have time to go to forums. Some of these forum questions are brought to me by someone else, but like, yeah, I don't check forums. So if you want to discuss something, leave it under the YouTube video, and then I'll definitely, read them and get back to you. Okay, so now I'm just gonna quickly talk about the main topic of today. Actually, we spend more time on answering questions and responses than the main topic, but that's fun because this topic is kind of quite short. We're gonna talk about a small claim called Hongdong Tongbei Chuan, right? So Hongdong, for those of you who, just in case you don't know the spelling, is Hongdong, and they call it Tongbei, alright? And the first I will keep in mind that this Hongdong Tongbei has nothing to do with the other Tongbei that we all know today, like the Qi family Tongbei, the Byron Tongbei, Wuxing Tongbei. Zero to do with Hongdong Tongbei. Some of them do try to claim that they are the oldest and ancestor of other Tongbei, but that is false. All the Tongbei that we know today that congregate in Beijing trace back to the Qi family, or trace back to the ancestor Qi Xin, and Qi Xin pretty much named his style Tongbei. So he might not be the first person in history to use the name Tongbei, okay? But this Tongbei has nothing to do with that Tongbei. They are two separate, completely unrelated martial art styles. Okay, with that out of the way, let's look at the claim. So basically, they claim that they are the ancestor of Chen style, right? They claim that one of the practitioner of their style, called I think Chen Pu, traveled to Henan province and established the Chen family. I do believe Chen Pu was named one of the founders of Chen village. I'm not too sure. I mean, I'm not a historian, so I don't remember all the names, but I do vaguely remember the name Chen Pu as one of the ancestors of Chen village. So yes, that could happen, but I'm not sure if they can actually, the Hongdong people can provide evidence that Chen Pu was a practitioner of Hongdong Tongbei Chuan. I mean, it is very fun that, Chen Pu came from Shanxi. Shanxi is where Hongdong Tongbei was founded, right? So he did migrate from Shanxi to Henan and settle in what you know today as a Chen village. But I don't think there's evidence to say that he's actually a martial artist and he practiced Hongdong Tongbei. And the Chen family record does not mention him as a martial artist either, right? So this is quite skeptical that, that Chen Pu actually did martial art and he did Hongdong Tongbei Chuan out of all things. So the Hongdong guys, they don't claim they are the origin of Taichi or the founder of Taichi, right? So which is good, right? Unlike the Wudang people and all the others who try to, get a piece of the pie on Taichi, they just want to say that they basically are the ancestors of Chen style, which is not as annoying, but it's also not very nice, especially when they can't provide solid proof. Now, as for the Hongdong style itself, it's quite interesting because early on, like many years ago, when they first came out and started making claims, I watched a video of one of the members demonstrating the Hongdong Tongbei Chuan, and it looks almost identical to Chen style, right? And I thought that was basically when they try to claim that they are the ancestors of Chen style. But when I look at the past few days on the YouTube, I start to realize that there's another version of Hongdong Tongbei Chuan, like the 108 step, that look nothing like Chen style. So I'm a little confused, like which one is the claim they are trying to put forth, because they're both, members of the same style, but they do completely different forms. It's a little confusing. But my take on that is the 108 step form that looks nothing like Chen style looks genuine, right? It may very well be a Hongdong Tongbei Chuan. It may well be the form. It looks like a typical external style. It has characteristic of external style. Some characteristics that may be traced back to Qi Jiguang's the 32 first classics, but the resemblance is not as strong as the Chen family style. So they may or may not have influence from Qi Jiguang, right? They claim that Qi Jiguang's first classic came to Hongdong Tongbei Chuan, and then through Chen Pu passed on to Chen family. I can't see that claim very clearly, right? Chen family's one look more in line with the Qi Jiguang first classic than the Hongdong Tongbei. As for the form that looks very similar to Chen style, I personally think it's fraud. They made it up. Okay, because if Hongdong predates the founder of Chen village, right? It's not even Chen Wangting. Chen Wangting is not the founder. So let's assume Chen Wangting was the first one to teach martial art in the Chen family. Then Hongdong predates that by at least 3 generations, or if not more, okay? And ever since Chen Pu, let's assume Chen Pu really learned from them and passed it to the Chen family, there was no connection or exchange between these two. One's in Shanxi, one's in Henan. There's no exchange between them for a couple hundred years. And somehow today, the two looks almost identical. That's not possible, right? Even if you look at Chen family and Zhao Bao, they're very close by, they're neighboring villages. And I mean, they don't exchange knowledge all the time, but they are close by. Even then, you can see the Chen style and Zhao Bao are of the same origin, but the movement are drastically different, right? From a horizontal plane of motion to a vertical plane of motion. So a lot of the details are completely different. You can see the sequencing is the same, but details are different. But that Hongdong form that I saw many years ago, it looked just like Chen style. Only difference is they added more circles. Like if Chen style just do 1 circle, they'll do like 2, 3 circles. And to me, that is basically a blatant attempt to take Chen style, add things to it, to change it into something that they can claim to be originally theirs, that Chen style learned from. The logical problem to that is, if you are the ancestor, you should have less, not more, okay? Taking Chen style and adding things to it is quite obvious to be spotted as fake. If you want to be the ancestor of Chen style, you have to be more simple than Chen style to make more logical sense. So I'm not saying the Hongdong Tongbei as a whole are fraud, but at least the individual who does a form that looks like Chen style are making a false claim, in my opinion. I mean, I can't prove it to them, but by logic, it detects that they probably took a Chen style form and then altered it to make it look like their own. The other form, like I said, 108 step that look nothing like Chen style, I do believe maybe is genuine. The question here though is that, does it really matter? Okay, being the ancestor of Chen village doesn't make you good. Okay, it just means that you are an older version. Older doesn't always mean good. In Chinese culture, they tend to believe that if you're older, you are better, but that is not true. Okay, in reality, we know that martial art progress; it doesn't regress. Okay, the boxing of today, the Muay Thai of today, is way better than in the 1920s. But sadly, in martial art world, everyone thinks that, the older it is, the better. That's not actually true. And it doesn't make logical sense either. So even if Hongdong Tongbei is the ancestor of Chen style, it doesn't show the same quality as Chen style. It doesn't have the soak reeling rotational force. It doesn't have any of the other 4 core forces of internal. And therefore, personally, I think Hongdong Tongbei is nothing good. It's not a very high level style. And therefore, even if these ancestors of Chen style, it really doesn't matter. If your goal is to learn Chen style, ignore Hongdong and focus on Chen style. Find a good Chen style teacher and do Chen style. If your goal is Yang style, do Yang style. There's no reason to trace back to the original source, because that source doesn't actually have what you want out of the style you are interested in. Now, of course, if you're interested in Hongdong Tongbei, then by all means do it. No one is stopping you. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. But just know that my personal opinion is that Hongdong Tongbei style is not as good as Chen style or any of the other Taijis that came after. But like I said, it is a good thing that they don't claim to be the founder of Tai Chi, but they do claim to be the ancestor of Chen style. And I would just like to clarify this bit of information, alright? And that will probably be all we'll discuss today in the first part of the origin of Tai Chi. I hope everything is still making sense. If you got any further questions, do come to the video and post them in the comment below. Right? I'm not gonna chase forums; it just waste too much time. And if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my channel. And if you can support me on Patreon, that would be greatly appreciated. And I hope you all stay safe, stay away from crowds, and stay healthy, don't get sick. Next week we're gonna talk about probably the final episode, or final part of this episode, which is on the claim of the Li family from Tang village. Okay, so stay tuned, and thanks for watching TriEssence Martial Art channel. I'll see you next time.